Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer request, and that is to discuss a little bit more in depth and detail the traits of a psychopath. And especially as it comes in a parallel, if they could, in discussion with Brian Koberger, the individual who has been arrested for the death of 4 Idaho college students, November 13th. So there's a lot of speculation going on. However, I think it's a good discussion here because we've been talking about this for some time here on the channel. And one of the more difficult things about a psychopath is they're a smaller percent of the population. So not everybody knows, who and what and why and where, and then the results of this type of personality profile. So it's very important to discuss it because a lot of viewers here have experienced the same in their life, but they want to live in denial. They don't want to accept. It's very difficult to see and comprehend that there could be a different type of personality, especially as distinct and separate from their own. So someone who is a psychopath, namely, I would say the number one trait is that they have no conscience. They have no remorse. And they have little to no emotion. So if we look at exactly what a lot of our viewers have stated here, and they were sort of upset by these qualities: lack of emotion, lack of remorse. These were exact statements that Koberger had stated in his youth in an online platform. That's all we're going to say about it. But for those people who have then experienced this in the first hand, in the flesh, the traits of a psychopath are lack of remorse, meaning they don't have any regret. They don't feel bad. They don't feel like if they've hurt somebody, they don't feel sort of the tinge of, I need to say I'm sorry, I need to make amends, I shouldn't do that again, that was wrong. They do not feel, because of their lack of conscience, that they have done anything wrong. So they can basically lie through their teeth and say, I didn't cheat on you, when the receipt for the hotel could be right there on the bed, and they could basically in their cheating episode, and male or female, and there have very little sort of cardiovascular, meaning like sweaty palms, rapid breathing, fogging up of the glasses, like myself now. I'm passionate about this topic. So a lack of remorse and regret. So, and how does this then science play into it? Well, studies have shown that the prefrontal cortex, which is involved in morality, right or wrong, weighing things out, judgment, decision making, discernment, should I do this? That is all in the prefrontal cortex of the human brain. It's one of the newer, meaning developed in the last several 100,000 years of the human brain. So you've got the limbic brain and the brainstem, which are millions and millions of years old, which really deal with a lot of your automatic processes. So getting back to this lack of regret, lack of remorse. So if this said individual has stated this, you can understand that, and then another sort of statement or soliloquy that he said, that he views his parents or his family just like a video game, meaning they don't seem real. They don't seem like he's connected. So this goes to show, this is an explicit sort of revelation of the struggle that someone who is young psychopath, as I've said here in the channel, these individuals know that they're different. 13, 14, 15, 16, they start seeing that their friends, their neighbors, their family have a different set of emotions. and they, see them coupling off, going to movies, going ice skating, holding hands, drinking hot chocolate, all these things which you'd see in bonding. So the psychopath who doesn't have a conscience and who doesn't have emotion, you have to think about what that means. And so if you didn't have emotion, that's really what a lot of things are predicated on, which is like your emotion, your feelings, how you feel. Oh, I love that steak. Oh, I love that bread. Or I love that person. I love our looking forward to the next get together. So those are emotions. So imagine if your spectrum is devoid of emotions. And a psychopath will say, and then sort of interpret this, that they're different. And then they begin to say in their, teenage years, where they really basically will begin, trying a lot of different things, and then hence, feel that they're above and beyond the law because they don't have this right or wrong struggle. They don't have this battling back and forth. They don't have, that would be scary. I better not do that. Because if they don't have any fear pedal, if you will, like a brake, they're fearless. The fearless female, oh, she's such a great leader. Fearless guy, oh, what a great macho, assertive leader. What a great marketer. What a great CEO. What a great mother. Different. You can, even though there are these deficits, oftentimes a psychopath will be intelligent and then say that they want, and then they interpret it as they want to use this as a skill that they can then use to outsmart, outdo, get whatever it is that they want, basically, from others. And they know that they have to put on an imposter, which means they have to show a false self to the world that might be full of emotion. Hey, how are you? The big, the big Seinfeld. Remember, the guy who would come in with a big entrance, full of emotion, but it can all be a show, which means it can all be a display, a put on, something that they have practiced and rehearsed that is not genuine, organic, or part of their emotional repertoire. So they don't feel happiness, joy, love, freedom, the abstract. So studies have also shown that they don't really relate to the abstract. For example, they don't follow music, the words, the song, the lyrics, and that might touch you or remind you of a heartbreak or of a true love romance. A lot of songs are the stories of our lives. In fact, a lot of people live their lives according to movies, songs, rock and roll stars, etc. But anyway, they think that they want to sort of, be like these, but they don't really understand what it is to come from a genuine place. So a psychopath is fully well aware that they do not have remorse or regret. And so their interpretation that to them is that they can be set above the law, that it doesn't apply to them. They will engage in high risk behaviors, meaning they'll do things, set foot in places that most people would never even think that they should go, would, want, or even physically be able to do. For example, being in an office building and entering someone's office and going into their desk and pulling out whatever passwords, security codes, keys, money. Most people, that would be a violation of personal property. So just like in an entrance to this house, so if you don't feel fear, concern, trepidation, worry, you would just waltz in like you're going to go buy a loaf of bread. It's the same, in other words, to a psychopath, which most people can't imagine, it's the same, but they just have to kind of think through it. But it gives them like what they would consider an ability, something special. They're not held back by the fears, the struggles, the pangs, the indecision, the indeliberate indecisiveness of quote unquote the bulk of society. So they think that they have sort of a pedal, you know, a foot on the gas pedal to really what they want to do if they can use it to their own benefit. Meaning, could they cheat on their wives? Could they steal from an employer? Could they take, anything high risk behavior? High risk behavior, unlawful behavioral, lifestyles, where it's, you're living on the extreme, extreme hours, extreme going without, deprivation, going without the family, going without, and not missing anybody. So in other words, not missing an animal. They don't have the same sort of connection to people, places, and things. They don't have like the love of an animal. If an animal gets put down, to them it's just, it doesn't pang, it doesn't draw a tear, it doesn't hurt, male and female. If they were late for their children, most parents, number one, they want to keep their children safe. So, these are people, what do you mean, leaving their kids abandoned in a car, oh, let's just put the blanket over them, no one will know, they'll go to sleep, and they don't feel bad even though they know it's unlawful. It's easier for them. If it's easier, gonna delay their boredom, and so getting back to that, and I don't want to go real in depth because I'm not here to diagnose, treat, be a criminal psychologist, or anything of that nature, but I do want to help draw some parallels that are in the literature according to this now individual, which we're going to see a lot of through June of the, late June and into the summer of this year. And then those people who have also experienced said type of individual who can't believe the gaslighting, the brainwashing, the fact that they can just go on with their life. This seems like a double person, a double life. We've discussed this here. So a lot of people, I think, if they start to see this, they might have some validation of what they've experienced in their own life, to go, oh my gosh, okay, now I know what I was dealing with. If you can say with clarity, I know what I'm dealing with, then that is going to be a good step towards healing. So in other words, because a lot of people have been drawn into a lot of the sort of wounding, as you can imagine these people would be capable of. And the ability to have a cool, calm face, which displays nothing unless you kind of are a body language expert and know what to look for. So we're going to keep this sort of brief and short, but when it comes to then what does a psychopath sort of get off on? What is their goal? Or the way it was phrased in this individual study of these individual minds, in other words, maybe to better understand themselves or to learn from the master, who knows? But we're not making that judgment here. But what I want to help sort of expose and treat as a, what body language, because body language is responsible, psychologists and communication experts will say for like 95 to 98% of communication. Just think how much we're missing out on with the advent of the social media and messaging, emojis. I mean, someone can clearly be lying and emoji a whole bunch of other stuff and be laughing. So in today's day and age, it is kind of like a psychopath playground with this media. But anyway, sort of getting back to the very salient and important topic, which is that of emotion and them being devoid of such. So if one is then devoid of emotion, so you can think what what brings you joy, emotion, things you look forward to, that you have to draw from as a is an ordinary person with a heart, a conscience, morality, wanting to plan, sort of wanting to do good, be good, have good, all those great things. Except for, the psychopath, they will sort of draw up the negative, volatile emotions, greed, jealousy, envy, all the, paranoia. They will drum up all these other feelings as a way to sort of get the attention on them and to help fill their cup of what they might feel is a life devoid of feelings or emotion. So then what does a psychopath get off from? What makes them tick? What makes their heart race? Exactly that. Whatever can make their heart race. This is a speculation. You might see other threads of this in the media. I'm just bringing this to my viewer attention here. If you want to share this, but if you understand that a psychopath, they don't have fear. They don't have that, they will have rage. So if they don't get what they want, they can be very explosive and have sort of like almost an explosive brain syndrome where they begin kicking and rejecting and, just like a toddler. And you're, okay, but anyway, so for someone who is psychopathic, so for you to understand, and to then look into sort of like the body language that I have picked up in my little bit of viewing, is that of the fixation, the psychopathic gaze of said individual in the media, and the psychopathic gaze that we talk about here, the fixation of said intent, on doing in with someone for the goal, or what would be then it gets their heart racing, which basically, and if you look, and I'm sort of jumping around, but other, body language experts, if you know what to look for, namely, if you see a kid, going like this in their chair, that's kind of like they're wagging their tail. They're kind of excited. They're getting some sort of pleasure. So if you look at, and you might say this is a lot to pick up on, or this is a shred. Well, a lot of reporters, the whole nation is looking for said shreds, these little bits of details. So the body language, when you're going like this, do you want chocolate or vanilla? I want chocolate ice cream. That's the same behavior. The swiveling of a chair. That is not the behavior of someone who is in fear of losing their life, losing their voice, fear of not being, found out. So to them, in their mind, they are not registering that they've done anything wrong. So they can, basically appear as if, but there's these telltale signs. The psychopath tells, we've gone about this in extent on the website, on the channel here, but we're going to be going more in depth with it, because hopefully it'll be validation, not only for the content that we've discussed, but you can see it not only as it relates to you, and the content and what you've experienced, and then how to better know and trust yourself, to protect yourself and not be made vulnerable, or, to be better equipped and informed of this type of individual, not only for you, but for your family, for the greater good of humanity and getting the word out there. But to know then that you then will then be able to heal, because you'll realize that this is an interspecies predator. They will target and they will scope out who it is that they want, and they will, they'll look for specific types of individuals and take from them what is in abundance of what is lacking within themselves. So in other words, they're going to go for people who have a lot of joy, who have a lot of happiness, who have a lot of heart, who have a lot of patience, who are good at relationships, who have, they're good at their job. They're good at planning. There could be very moral people, upright, lawyers, priests. Who do they go after? People who have an abundance of what they lack, which is that of emotion and that of they lack emotion, and they lack regret and remorse. So for people who have regret and, who want to make good, they will want to do things like the girl, Kaylee was going there for the weekend to show off her car that she had saved up on, a sense of pride and accomplishment. Okay, so that, if you work for something, that's an emotion. So I'm just trying to, give you, so an accomplishment. You might not say it's pride, but if you get a new car, and you're just out of school, you're kind of like, this is cool. This is my first car. This is a big deal, So you can see the interplay. I want to help you to kind of see the play a little bit, but the body language, is not one of trepidation, concern, and fear. Okay, eyes, his forehead, even in his teenage years, have a permanent groove or three here. If people who have unresolved emotions tend to wrinkle the forehead, it's called a furrow. Okay, you could basically plant a row of corn in this guy's forehead. The furrows are so deep. I mean, you think you would have gone there through an emotional plow and just said, and then, but other times you can see he's not wrinkling his forehead up. It's almost like that's the only look he knows. And that is not a normal position for the forehead. If you're, like focusing, or if you, so that's kind of one of the telltale signs, the swiveling in the chair. If you look at the forehead and how, that is kind of like all the emotion is kind of poured up there in the cerebral, covering up that whole area of the head. Very interesting. Like it's trying to put a barrier or an obstacle. You might think this, think about these things. We've talked about these things here on the channel. We're not here to diagnose or treat. We're here to bring understanding and healing for those people who have found themselves in the terror, in the agony, and these other human emotions, which of course, if you just see, so for us, okay, I know there's a lot of like content here, but the other telltale sign, because a psychopath, if they don't feel like, oh, look, I got this car, they don't have joy, happiness, love, looking like sort of like planning and looking forward for things. Like, I'm going to get married, I'm going to do this for my woman, I'm going to be this for my man. They don't have those other things. So there is other than, but they will put on a persona as if. So what's very creepy and very difficult is that these people look just like ordinary doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs, or any teaching assistant, president, CEO, what have you. So these people don't look like they have like a handicap. Like you might see someone who's missing a limb. They're blind. They have a breathing tube. I mean, these people, they have a known, indicator. Someone who broke their arm. You've seen me with the surgery. Obviously, I was, so, and then getting back, so if you look in the telltale sign, I feel, of Koberger, is if you look on his face, of course you've got those cuts. Okay, we're going to not even talk about that right now, because that's, again, that's something else. We're going to go into that. But if you look at his face, there's like almost you can see his blood vessels with his heart pounding, moving through his face. Like, it's almost like the jugular is put it, and you can just see it pulsing through his face. There's no sweating, there's no redness, there's no, wiping of the brow, fiddling. I mean, the guy, you would think he was going to go see a symphony orchestra. I mean, he's so cool, calm, and collected, and he's got that gaze, that fixed in, which it looks like interest, it looks like seduction, it looks like anything else other than, but it's very piercing, which means if you look at the gaze, and then how other people are in the room, you'll obviously see his physical expression is different. But then to me, that's what I'm observing, and I've observed it many times, maybe 20 or 30 that I've been studying this. Why am I interested in this case? Because it's going to give a chance for many people who have been injured by these types of people to see it sort of put up, and to see how this is a reality in terms of a type of person that they might have encountered or brushed across, and that could have, really caused a sort of, some thought patterns or your life to change. And so, but then if you look at that pulsation, see, a psychopath, they're going to go for the heart beating. So I'm not sure if it's just a pumping that they might feel, but to them, and then that's the dopamine hit, is that there's a great interview that's done from an ex-con, and he basically says this is an indicator of satiation. So, they're satiated, they've achieved their goal, there's a feeling of whatever might be the engendered within that person, which is in a different sort of repertoire or spectrum, if you will. So, in other words, what does it mean for this type of specific psychological profile? What does it mean? So, and so the people are saying, well, what's the motive? Well, let's look at the body language, and then you can understand the motive. So the body language, your heart beating, your heart racing. So like the way a guy might feel for a girl, oh, I'm attracted. The way a girl might feel for a guy, I'm attracted. Your heart, you get excited. You're going to plan the night. You're going to plan that trip. You're going to buy those shoes. You're going to buy that dress. You're going to buy that suit. Buy that car. If you've purchased something and gotten, that sort of excitement, should I do it? And you kind of know if it's right or wrong, or maybe you're trying to be on a budget and you're shaking. So to me, that's the satiation that we're seeing there. That's some sort of indicator that is akin, and I would think specific, and I'm not an investigator. I have studied and I have degrees in psychology. I have studied, I have read, I have further, and I'm not saying I'm here, a prosecuting attorney. This is from someone who has studied in depth, okay? And this is, so in other words, what I want to show, those people who are your perpetual students, I have a thread of that. I want to help the community who is suffering, who is hurt. If there's anything I can do before I leave this earth planet, it's just to say, at least if I saved or another hurting individual, then that would have made my life matter. That would make it meaningful more than I can say if I have a big house or So to me, if I can accomplish that, and I don't always know here on the channel, our viewers will give the comments, we'll get donations, so I know we're hitting a chord. We're resonating, where it's making sense. And oftentimes it's very difficult because of this small type of population, not everybody encounters, but you can see, because of this has captivated the nation, this whole case here. And so getting back to the body language, and so I want you to look at that, and then and then to sort of see the lack of fear in the predator. He's a model prisoner. I didn't do it. If I were, or anyone else who were locked up, and I didn't do it, I wouldn't just be saying I didn't do it. I would be screaming at the top of my lungs. I would be furious, okay? So I would be displaying other emotions. So think of it yourself also, if you were to be falsely accused, and and things of that nature, and how wronged you would feel. So it's a similar thing that you can see a pattern. You can begin to see a lack of emotion. And what does that really mean? It's not just like lack of emotion, it's like lack of emotion. Like, this is serious. This is not funny. This creates for a very hazardous, dangerous individual. That oftentimes I feel that not a lot of psychologists are able to then sort of take into a therapeutic medium, because they don't, or a milieu, because they don't always know the brainwashing and gaslighting effects that they do to their known perpetrators, but then sort of how it's not their area of study. So I think it's very difficult to find help, healing, and understanding when it comes to this, the grief, the bereaving, and so looking again at the body language, and there to be lack of, so it just, even in that little bit, so people who have been duped, deceived, cheated, by the said individuals, know that they can do certain high-risk behaviors with the easiest of facility, which means with ease, which means with facility, which means they have the faculties, they have the senses that make it easy, meaning their heart does not beat, for the heartbreak song. They're not playing the country song and going, "That's me and my baby." They might be listening to the overall feeling of it, but they don't. Psychopaths, if you can study also, they don't resonate to abstract meanings. They don't understand things like freedom, so love, liberty. These are abstracts, which means, like your flag of your country might stand for something, or the welcome of a family home might mean something, or your family heirloom might mean something. So, but the meaning doesn't hold in the reservoir of those individuals. They don't have that same meaning. They don't have that same experience or outlook. So to me, it would serve as a way of them getting some sort of satiation in their life. And what does that mean for someone who is psychopathic, which is different for the, so if they can feel something, maybe they don't feel much of anything, and they want to, and then feel something. So they might, and then to feel something might just be their heart beating. And a psychopath will advise that they have a very high threshold to pain, which means other things, other situations, events that could cause physical, emotional, spiritual, or psychological pain does not create said pain in a psychopath. They don't have that same sensitivity. They don't have those hurt feelings. I think that they might just have obstruction to their goal, but these are the planters of an appearance as if. And then these are great erasers, as if they were not there. So these are people who would, make bedding appear as if they were sleeping, make bedding appear as if they weren't sleeping, make a couch appear as if, a dishwasher as if, put food on the plates and throw them in the sink, make it look like they ate there. They will just put up, make it look like they drove somewhere when they didn't. All sorts of things. It's just fun and games. It's just how they do life. And it's very hazardous, very treacherous for other people who are involved, because it's the high risk behavior. It's the lack of emotion and affect, which they're not getting back. So there's a lack of fulfillment on those sort of emotional foot pedals. There, we don't have the love. There's the not the emotion. So this might be some of the indicators: lack of commitment. Um, this woman's, I've given her an engagement ring, and it's been 3 years, and she still hasn't, committed the date. But she says, "I'm her forever, forever." I mean, just things that, and then they might just say, "Oh, well, she's not ready, and she's the only one. Believe me, she's worth waiting for. He's worth waiting for." All these other things that then go putting, them further and further deeper into basically just the sliding door is how a psychopath, well, it's just, have you ever seen those revolving doors? That's how they will deal with circles of friends. They don't really sort of have relationships that they really stick around with. They just sort of move through groups. And they can appear as if they're a green earther, and they could be a complete spilling oil and decimating the oceans. I mean, they can flip-flop and even change physiologically, which means their countenance, means their face, their appearance can either get more softer or different. I mean, these people will metamorphosize into different appearances, much like someone who can throw their voice, and appear, they're throwing this is a toy, and they kind of throw their voice. They can be the terminology isn't hitting me right now, like a ventriloquist. So, but it's not only with their voice, but with their looks, their eyes, their body. The way that they stand can be very, very, and they can keep it for an extenuated period of time. So appear as if they're, a weakling, but then other times appear as if they're Hulk Almighty. Two different, or a voluptuous woman who's got a compared to like a nun. I mean, in other words, they can flip flop and physiologically portend the different personalities, which is kind of like a multi-personality disorder in a way, but not the same. But there's a similar chameleon likeness to a psychopath, which we will be, which you can, if you can understand then to your life that you can't believe that to be the case, it's difficult to comprehend. And of course, the psychopath will bank on that, because then they'll have that parasitic nature, which means they'll live under another's cover for some time until they're ready to move on, until they've set up their next location. And a lot of people really are scarred and hurt by their ability to sort of pick up and move on without any trepidation, without any concern, caring, because, and physically the other person can't comprehend it. So I want you to just understand that there's a real physiological difference, structural difference. The amygdala, the fight or flight in the psychopath is shown to be shrunk, lower activity. So, those fight or flight behaviors, they're not subject to. They don't have that same experience. They might have something else, and a psychopath will eventually reveal, maybe in a psychopathic tell, what that is for them. Like Kohlberger said, "Oh, they don't have any leads. It seems like it's a crime of passion." Well, here goes a guy, a psychopath tell, and so you might have had those similar psychopath tells in a relationship, but you have to realize that it's one thing to understand, I think, about a psychopath, which people have a difficult time grasping, is it's premeditated, pre-calculated, and predetermined. So what they have, and this is just what they do. This is how they operate. And so for people who think, what is it that I have done? Sometimes they even want them back. rather than feeling the pain of the grief of being alone, of that wound that has been the effect. Um, and so that's it's still part of that fear, and still trying to calculate the bottom line. Don't try to calculate a bottom line. You need to sort of get the shift off, and get the shift within, which means having and working on that body mind spirit connection, which is understanding and having compassion for your own empathy, your own heart within. And even if it was frail, shaken, broken, jittery, disrupted, all these different things, but you're alive. You're feeling, you're sentient, you have warmth, you have compassion, humanity, and all these things, which, and I'm going to wrap it up here. So if someone wants, so for an understanding, I think, is to, a lot of people are saying, well, what's the motive? In my study, in my understanding, a psychopath will target people who have an abundance of those qualities which they are lacking. So those people who have a lot of fear, who have a lot of fight or flight in their life, who have a lot of trauma, who have a lot of heart, who have a lot of feeling, who have a lot of ambition, who have a lot of accomplishments, who enjoy relationships, enjoy socializing, enjoy romance, intimacy, who have all these other qualities that the psychopath lacks. It's sort of like a consumption of them. And so to me, and we can have more of these discussions, I just wanted to get this off my chest because I feel it only part of my duty, because we breach this subject, we approach this subject here on the channel to so many, and to see that not only you, but look at for the public, what you're seeing now, and then the grief of these families. So if you can kind of see and feel sort of a belonging, not even a belonging, but sort of a redemption, of such, which means a closure, a healing, that you can say, I am not crazy. I am not lost my mind. I am not out of my gourd. I am not out of my birds with a feather. My birds do have a feather. I am not isolated. I am not I am not alone in this feeling. No matter how, it can take you down for months, okay? We joke and try to have some lighthearted brevity, but it is not funny. I take this up because it is a very, very serious topic that can hurt the most beautiful, innocent, noteworthy of people. And so it's really important that people at large, society at large, police at large, teachers at large, news reporters at large, better understand the profile of this type of individual and how they present in business, how they present in family, how they present in romance, marriage, and hopefully, in all these different and sundry ways, and can you understand more, and then how to deal and heal, and prevent and protect, because it'll rob people of a life. It'll rob people of a joy. It'll rob people of a smile. It'll put a frown where there should, where you should be able to hold a smile. So it's very important to me. This is one of the more, and why have I taken this topic up? Because I really don't like to see innocent human suffering. That really hurts me to see someone who is alone, who is silent suffering, to someone who cannot talk, who cannot have eye contact, who can't have communication, who can't say what just happened, who can't, who is so shocked that they can't put things into words for months. This to me is is uh, is terrible and is capable and worth of being protected and preventing. Um, and to me, this really gets my goat. This gets, my heart going. Because I think it's so sad, and it's so not only sad, but it's the psychopath to me goes after the best, the brightest, the haves of certain things, and they it's a consumption of another human life. It's not, that is not right. So just like I'm not even going to go there. I'm not even going to go there right now, but that is the why behind the channel. And I just hope that a little bit of this discussion helps. Please share, please subscribe, and for goodness sake, please donate for more great tool, videos, discussion, and support.